All right, guys, The Whale has finally come around to where I live, so I finally got a chance to go see it in theaters. We've all heard the hype about it, all the festival buzz it's been getting, and the big question is it any good? Is Brendan Fraser really worthy of that Best Lead Actor nomination? Yeah. All right, let me start off by saying that this movie is definitely not going to be for everybody. It is mainly performance based, I feel like, because the story, admittedly, the story is a bit thin, but I still got a lot of stuff out of it. It'll just vary from person to person. If you're okay with a very intimate character, not really a study, but just this, this world revolving around this guy who is 600 pounds, played by Brendan Fraser, a guy named Charlie. He's, like a shut in. He's dealt with some stuff in his life as things unfold. He's got a couple people in his life that one may be close, one may be distant, one's just kind of coming in from the outside. And it's a very small cast. There's 5 actors in it. And I think everybody does a really good job. And you get this story of this man just dealing with the situation he's in, but also kind of having this positive spirit around it and coming to terms with the situation he's in to an extent, which I found very fascinating. He, the character that is just so about making sure to leave an impact on people. He's a professor on an online college course. You see that in one of the trailers, and he's just trying to provide an outlook for people to just look at the world differently because he sees the world differently. And it's very interesting to see that positivity from a man who's so self-destructive. And, if anybody's ever seen those shows, where people are overweight and you see all their problems around that, the people who can't even get out of their own bedrooms, it's sad, it's horrifying. And this movie really portrays all that really, really well. And I think that all hinges upon the performance of Brendan Fraser, which everybody's been talking about, everybody's been raving about, and it's true. Brendan Fraser is the front runner, if not the absolute lock to win Best Actor at the Academy Awards. If he doesn't get it, I will be utterly shocked, and I will think he got robbed because it's emotional. I definitely was horrified at some of the stuff that he had to do in the movie and what this character chose to do, and just it was heartbreaking and at the same time uplifting because he had this interesting moral compass in his life, but he was just so self-destructive. He was just, dealing with all this other stuff that you find out as the movie goes along that you can't help but empathize and just feel for this man. And then, everybody around him, his support system, he's got his friend Liz, played by Chau, who is incredible. She was in The Menu. I have been digging all of her performance. She's like one of my new favorite actresses in Hollywood right now, and she's been a supporting character in a lot of stuff, and I want to see her get more stuff because she's great. She's fantastic in this movie. And then you have a name people might not be familiar with, but you'll know the face in Sadie Sink, who plays Charlie's daughter in the film. And she is from Stranger Things. Everybody will know her as Max from Stranger Things, and she's great in Stranger Things. I think she's really good in this. There are times where they play up the melodramatic teenage angst angle, which I thought got a little heavy-handed at times, and it's just like, okay, we get it. Like, there wasn't enough subtlety or enough subdued performance there to really make me go, wow, that was incredible. But I thought she was really good for what she had to deal with. And my other problem with this film, it's not really a problem, but I found myself about halfway through it going, this feels like a stage play. Everything takes place in this one environment, which is interesting. I'm okay with that. But then there were times where I think the fault of the director, Darren Aronofsky, who I enjoy a lot of his films. He's a very unique filmmaker. Like did Black Swan. He did Requiem for a Dream. He's done so much other stuff out there, guys, that if you haven't seen any of his films, he's going to be a very hit and miss director for people. But for me, he's just one of those more out there auteur directors that I dig whenever I hear he's coming out with a new movie. Whether or not I like it's a different story. But so with him, it felt weird that there was some blocking stuff. There'd be situations where two characters would be talking or moving in this space, and the way they would stop and stand and talk to one another felt very much like stage blocking. I did some drama in high school which by no means makes me an expert in stage blocking, but it had that sensibility to it to where it was like, all right, character A, you walk around the table here and hold on to the chair and look slightly over your shoulder in the frame back at the other character. Like, it just felt like this wooden kind of maneuvering at times, which doesn't happen a lot, but the few times it does, I'm like, okay, it felt like a stage play. Come to find out, this is based off a play. I didn't know that going in, but it does, very much feel like a stage play at times. The other thing I found interesting, though, and people might not think about this, but the film is shot or presented at least in a 4:3 aspect ratio. That's the kind of the square box we were all used to as kids for some of us. But yeah, like the 4:3 square aspect ratio. And I'm not a big technical nerd when it comes to all this stuff, but from the get-go, when I saw that it was in that aspect ratio, that we weren't getting the full screen opened up, then it was this condensed square, you kind of felt that enclosure, and I think that's very purposeful and very important and very purposeful, because everything happens in this one space. Everything is in this one little apartment with this big 600-pound man maneuvering through it, or trying to maneuver through it. And it feels claustrophobic, and I feel to an extent, everything in this movie is characters feeling claustrophobic. The situation is engrossing them, and I think that aspect ratio kind of does that too. Whether or not that was, intentional, I assume it was, and whether or not people will feel that same thing might be up to you, or might be how you see the film. People might not even pay attention to it. Some people might watch it and just not even realize, oh, it was a 4:3 aspect ratio. But to me, that's how I felt, and I totally dug that aspect of it. And look, in general, I think this is a very well-made movie. Again, the story, a little lax, little light on a full story, but there is a character arc. There's other characters who get almost full arcs, I feel like, if not like half arcs, because some of the stuff felt kind of convenient and like, oh, here's this revelation about this character. It's like, okay, so not everything hit home. But I will say that the emotion and the performances in this carry this experience, and I felt that experience. I was definitely emotionally pushed at times, just tearing up at just some of the positivity of the character of Charlie, and a lot of times horrified and just scared of the negative stuff that he's putting himself through. I found this to be an interesting experience. I think it is a great film, but yeah, it does hinge upon that performance. And I think if you go in with that in mind and don't think like, oh, the story was thin, or that's what really sunk this movie because there was no real story. But it's all character arcs. It's all this stuff that leads to this ending that is just a very Birdman-esque ending. If you've ever seen Birdman, it kind of gave me that vibes. It was a very powerful ending, an emotional ending, and I just think that after I watched it, I was exhausted. I was emotionally involved in this film, and by the end, I was exhausted. I had to call a friend right after to be like, dude, I just saw this movie. I had to explain my experience, and I couldn't even do the review right after I saw it like I normally would because I was just so emotionally drained from what I had seen in a good way. And I think a lot of people will probably not dig this just because it is a more character-driven, not a real story to it, but there is, and it's a character study, it's a character journey, and I dug it about it. I'm going to give this film a very, very high B+. It might be the highest B+ I've given that is literally on the cusp of becoming an A-. This is one of the best films I've seen this year. It is one, I don't know if I'd revisit anytime soon, but it is one I definitely would own and keep on my shelf to just watch just for that emotion, just for getting kind of that little bit of hope when you're in a negative situation kind of thing. And I'm all about that, and I dug that. But what about you guys? Have you seen The Whale yet? Do you want to see The Whale? Are you along with me thinking that Brendan Fraser is going to get this Academy Award? I think he is. Brendan Fraser is incredible. It is the best performance I've seen all year. No ifs, ands, buts about it. He 100% deserves every accolade he gets in this. So yeah, guys, please remember to hit that like button, hit that bell notification, hit that subscribe button. All of that stuff helps the channel out. And also, guys, please remember, leave your comments down below. I love engaging with you guys about the movie. and about how we all felt about it, because it's very insightful and I enjoy that. That's my favorite part about doing film critiquing or criticism, is because I get to engage with other people and we get to see different perspectives on a film. And a film like this is going to have several different perspectives on it, and I can't wait to find out what others think about it. So until next time, guys, I'll be seeing you.